The global temperature suddenly plummeted to minus 70 degrees Celsius. That day I was wearing a short skirt, standing inside a safe house maintained at 26 degrees Celsius, basting a well-seared steak in a pan. Outside the window was a deathly sheet of white. Those who used to worth hundreds of millions were out there on the snow, fighting to the death over a piece of moldy bread. Meanwhile, my own relatives had already frozen into statues, dying a frozen death right outside my bulletproof door. Reborn into this life, I don't just want to survive. I'm going to live more lavishly than anyone else. When I opened my eyes, bright light from my phone screen made them sting. Instinctively, I reached for the blanket beside me, but my hand only brushed against cold sweat. There was no bone-chilling wind, no blackened frostbite scars, and no bloodshot eyes of rioters wanting to tear me limb from limb. The air conditioner was still blowing cool air, humming away. The calendar displayed July 15th, 2026, meaning the global ice age apocalypse was still over a full month away. I bolted up, my heart pounding violently. Memories of my past life rushed back like a tidal wave. That unannounced blizzard lasted for 3 whole years. The temperature plummeted from a scorching 35 degrees Celsius straight down to minus 50 degrees Celsius, finally stabilizing at a brutal minus 70 degrees Celsius. Human civilization became incredibly fragile and couldn't hold up against the absolute zero temperatures. The power grid was paralyzed, water sources froze, and order collapsed. My supposedly perfect fiancé Mao Bufan, along with my seemingly fragile and delicate half-sister Liu Ruyan, did me dirty. To steal the last remaining heat pack in my hands and half a bag of rice, they ruthlessly pushed me out into a blizzard of minus 60 degrees Celsius. Even in death, I still remember Liu Ruyan wearing my favorite down jacket, leaning into Mao Bufan's chest and smiling at me through the window. Sister, you have a strong constitution, so you won't freeze to death. This jacket fits me perfectly, though. The agonizing pain of the blood in my body freezing solid bit by bit. I never want to experience that a second time. I took a deep breath and yanked off the unassuming jade pendant from my neck. This was a keepsake left behind by my mother. In my past life, right before I died, my blood stained the jade pendant red. Only then did I discover that it was actually a massive storage dimension. Pity that I no longer had the chance back then. This time I bit my fingertip and dripped blood onto it. Instantly, a hazy gray space appeared in my mind. The space was about the size of 2 football fields, and what's more, time inside was completely frozen. Hot buns put inside would still be piping hot and mouth-burning when taken out. I smiled as tears streamed down my face. Love, family. In this life, all I need are supplies. I must survive, and I must watch them drag themselves to hell with my own eyes. What's the very first step to hoarding supplies? It's not making a list, it's getting money. Even though I am the eldest daughter of the Shin family, ever since my father passed away, and my stepmother took the reins, I didn't have much cash flow left in my hands. The most valuable assets under my name were a large 300-square-meter apartment in the city center, and 15% of the company's shares left by my father. But in the apocalypse, the most valuable things will always be food and energy. I spent an hour auditing my assets, then called the person who had always wanted to buy out the shares. In my hands, our competitor Old Wang. CEO Wang, this is Shin Shin. After careful consideration regarding your previous acquisition offer, I accept. The other end of the line was clearly stunned. Miss Shin, didn't you say before that this was your father's life's work, and you wouldn't sell it even if you died? I've thought it through. I want to go abroad to study, and don't want to worry about worldly matters anymore. But I have one condition. Looking at the blazing sunlight outside the window, I calmly said, I want the entire payment in cash. If you can transfer the money within a week, I'll take only 80% of the market value. A 20% discount is an irresistible temptation for any businessman, let alone when it involves nearly 50 million in cash. I calmly listened to the phone. As expected, CEO Wang, on the other end of the line, couldn't wipe the grin off his face. He hurriedly agreed, Sure. Rest assured, Miss Shin, I will transfer the money to you as quickly as possible. After hanging up, I started contacting a reputable real estate agency in the industry. Sister Lee, I have 2 properties I need to liquidate. One is the large city center apartment I'm currently living in. The other is a fully furnished matrimonial home located in the Tiangong district. It comes with all the furniture and appliances. I only accept a one-time lump sum payment, the faster the better. The price is negotiable. That happened to be the matrimonial home that Mao Bufan was always so proud of. Even though he put it under my name, he had long considered himself the master of the house, even moving his parents in. But that's fine. The one I'm selling is exactly this unit. After wrapping all of this up, I opened a document and started drafting a massive hoarding list. As someone who scraped by for 3 years in the apocalypse, I knew all too well what the real necessities were. The most terrifying thing in the Ice Age apocalypse isn't human malice. It's the extreme cold. In temperatures of minus 70 degrees Celsius, regular down jackets are as thin as paper. What you need is professional polar expedition gear, high-calorie food, and fuel that can provide a continuous heat source. My fingers flew across the keyboard, roughly dividing the supplies into 4 major categories. Survival, which included home modifications, fuel generators, and thermal clothing. Food consisting of carbs, meat, vegetables, and fruits, condiments, soft drinks, and medical supplies. And lastly, weapons including self-defense tools and reinforcement gear. Right as I wrote down 50 tons of smokeless coal, my phone rang and the screen displayed the name of my beloved husband. Looking at this contact name made my stomach churn. The moment I picked up, Mao Bufon's nauseatingly sweet voice came through. "Baby, where are you right now?" Brian said she's not feeling well and wants to stay at our new place for a few days to recover. My parents also quite like her. I figured since we're getting married soon anyway, we can let her crash in the guest room for now. I suppressed the urge to throw up, forcing a cheerful tone. "Sure, no problem. It's just that I've been busy preparing a surprise for the wedding these past 2 days, so I might not be able to look after everyone." No worries, baby, you are so broad-minded." Mao Bufon was clearly overjoyed. He didn't expect me to agree so decisively. His voice was completely filled with joy. "Right, my mom said that since Rien is staying over, she wants to change the home decor to make it look cozier, so she might need a bit of cash." "Mao Bufon," I cut him off, a cold smile playing on the corners of my lips. "Money is no issue, but I'm currently negotiating a huge business project right now. Let's talk about this in a few days." Right after saying that, I hung up. Then I immediately set his messages to Do Not Disturb, so he couldn't mess with my plans. Make yourselves at home for now. In a few days, when the real estate agent brings people over to view the house, I hope they won't be too shocked. With the 2 properties and the company shares sorted out, I still wasn't in a rush to hoard supplies, because there was something far more important, my ultimate safe house. Under my name, there was still one final property, the old mountainside villa left behind by my mother. The location was extremely secluded, backed right against a cliff face, and there was only one mountain road leading up to it. Normally, this place had terrible accessibility and wasn't worth much, but in the apocalypse, it was the ultimate heaven-sent location. In my past life, so many people were trapped inside the city center because the massive blizzards blocked their doors, leaving them besieged by violent thugs. I opened my phone contacts and looked up Old Chen's number. Old Chen was a construction foreman in his 50s. Under him was a crew that had been working together for over 25 years. Relying on the Jiedun company, their craftsmanship is absolutely flawless. Most importantly, they kept their mouths shut. The call connected, and the noisy sound of a drilling machine came from the other side. "Master Chen, are you busy?" "Miss Shin, long time no see. How can I help you?" Old Chen's voice was incredibly enthusiastic. "I have a major project. Are you interested in taking it?" "Go ahead, Miss Shin. Renovating a villa? The construction time is 20 days and the budget is completely unlimited." I paused for a brief second. "I want to turn it into an absolute steel fortress." Silence fell over the other end of the line for 2 seconds. "Miss Shin, are you shooting a movie or something?" "Just think of it that way. I need maximum efficiency. Tomorrow morning at number 18 Wending Road on the mountainside. Bring your crew to inspect the site. Money is not an issue. I'll pay double the standard labor cost, and there will be a bonus if you finish ahead of schedule. Deal?" The moment he heard double the labor cost, Old Chen instantly agreed. Early the next morning, I drove up to the old mountainside villa. The moment I pushed the door open, a cloud of dust hit my face. This house had been abandoned for years, but its core structure was incredibly solid. It had deep foundations and thick walls, as my mother had personally supervised its construction back then. Right at that moment, the screech of brakes echoed outside. Old Chen hopped out of his truck holding a tape measure and a notepad. "Miss Shin, this location is certainly secluded enough." Old Chen looked around. The back was against a cliff. It was completely isolated and there was only one road leading up. "Are you planning to go off the grid?" "Pretty much." Standing before the door, I looked at Old Chen with a deadpan expression. "Master Chen, you might think I've completely lost my mind after hearing what I'm about to say, but just follow the instructions and you'll get every single penny." Master Chen seemed to catch on and nodded. I took a deep breath, bringing up every piece of survival experience I bought with my life in the past world, and listed them out one by one. First, the perimeter wall. Tear down the entire existing wall and rebuild it. Raise the height to 3 meters, double the thickness, and pour reinforced concrete inside. The surface must be treated with anti-climbing material, and a high-voltage electric fence must be installed on top. The voltage needs to be strong enough to instantly incapacitate an adult male. 233 Old Chen's pen paused for a second, and he looked up at me. Old Chen's pen paused for a moment as he looked up at me. I ignored his gaze and continued. Second, replace all windows with double-paned explosion-proof bulletproof glass. Fill the gap between them with inert gas. The frames must be titanium alloy, and add motorized titanium alloy rolling shutters on the outside. Replace the main door with an explosion-proof armored door. It needs to meet bank vault grade standards. Third, reinforce the entire interior of the house, adding 30 centimeters of thickness from the inside, using a layer of aerogel insulation coupled with high-strength steel. Old Chen's pen began flying across the notepad, and tiny beads of sweat started forming on his forehead. Fourth, install a double-layered underfloor heating system throughout the house. One layer of hydronic heating connected to a deep geothermal heat pump, and one layer of electric heating connected to the backup power supply. Additionally, install a fireplace chimney in every room. Even if we end up burning firewood, I need to stay warm. Lastly, the basement must be expanded to double its size, completely sealed, waterproofed, and moisture-proofed. It needs to fit 3 large diesel generators. Cover the entire roof with solar panels. The storage battery bank must hold enough power for a full week. And drill a deep well in the yard, installing both a manual pump and an electric pump, along with a rainwater harvesting system and a water filtration unit. It was so quiet in front of the door that you could hear the wind blow. Old Chen's notepad was completely filled for 3 whole pages. He slowly raised his head, looking at me with a complex expression. I simply looked back at him and smiled, saying absolutely nothing. He stared at me for a few solid seconds, then suddenly burst out laughing. "You don't say I don't ask. Doing the job and getting paid is just how business goes. But with these materials and labor, it's going to cost at least 4 to 5 million. Plus a 20-day deadline is insanely tight. I'll have to run double shifts and the boys will be working themselves to the bone." Without a second word, I pulled out a bank card and handed it straight to him. "Here is a $2 million deposit. Finish it within 20 days and I'll pay another $2 million. For every day you finish ahead of schedule, there's a 100,000 bonus." Old Chen took the card, his hands shaking violently. It wasn't out of fear, but sheer excitement. "One more thing." I looked at him, my tone becoming deathly serious. "Everything about this construction site must not be mentioned to a single soul. The crew under you had better sign non-disclosure agreements as well." Old Chen blanked out for a moment, then understood and nodded. After seeing Old Chen off, I looked up at the gloomy gray horizon in the distance. There were still 24 days before the end of Linmo City. The villa renovation would take 20 days, leaving me with exactly 4 days to transport my supplies. Adding in the time for final adjustments, it was a flawless schedule. I turned around and hopped into my car. My next destination wasn't home. It was hoarding supplies. When it came to hoarding supplies, I didn't plan to buy in bulk locally, as it would easily draw too much attention. I rented a massive abandoned warehouse in the suburbs and hired a few clueless temporary workers, telling them that I wanted to open a large-scale warehouse supermarket. My first stop was the agricultural wholesale market. I went straight to find the biggest grain and oil wholesaler around. The owner was a middle-aged, round-faced man, lounging on a recliner in the shop playing on his phone. Seeing me walk in, he looked up to greet me. "Hey, beautiful, what are you looking for?" 50 tons of regular rice, 30 tons of flour, and 1,000 boxes each of vacuum-sealed noodles and pasta. He bolted up instantly, sizing me up from head to toe. "Girl, do you even know how much 50 tons of rice actually is? If you were to eat it alone, it would last you several lifetimes." I looked at him and smiled faintly. Of course I'm not eating it alone. That part was true. In the apocalypse, food is the ultimate hard currency. On my own, I really couldn't finish 50 tons of rice, but I could use it to trade for lives, the lives of others. Obviously, the owner didn't catch my drift, but he still took the order. After all, the cash was real. "So are you doing some charity work?" "Pretty much. My company is doing a charity donation project." I lied with a straight face. "Everything must be vacuum sealed with the latest production date. Aside from that, give me soybean oil, peanut oil, and canola oil, 200 boxes each." "No problem, but I need to source the stock. It'll be delivered to you by tomorrow afternoon at the latest." I nodded, placing my bank card on the table. "I'll pay the deposit first. Tomorrow, deliver the goods to the warehouse in the eastern suburbs for me." With the rice flour and cooking oil all sorted, I immediately headed to the frozen food wholesale market. The owner there was a lean, middle-aged man wearing an apron, who was currently supervising the unloading of goods. "Boss, I want 500 whole slabs of pork." He raised his head. 500 slabs? Girl, do you have any idea how much a slab of pork weighs? It's around 40 kilograms. 500 slabs is 20 tons. I looked at him. "Help me calculate how many people that can feed." The boss blanked out for a moment. "Assuming one person eats half a kilo of meat a day, it's enough to feed over 2,000 people for more than 2 months. "Well, then we're good. I have a lot of friends." He stopped talking nonsense, turned around, and called for his wife. "Honey, we've got a massive client here. After that, I ordered 2,000 boxes each of rolled beef and rolled mutton, 5,000 whole chickens and 5,000 whole ducks, and directly cleared out their entire inventory of canned meat. The boss was murmuring while writing down the order, while I continued to frantically order all kinds of high-calorie food like chocolate, compressed biscuits, self-heating hot pots, river snail rice noodles, potato chips, and drinks like cola. In the apocalypse, these are pure dopamine sources. Of course, having just food is completely useless. If I couldn't solve the heating issue before I could even cook, this food I would freeze to death first. I still remembered that bone-chilling, agonizing pain, limbs becoming numb, ulcerating, and oozing pus, before finally turning black with necrosis. To survive, I had to turn myself into a walking heat source. I contacted a supplier for outdoor expedition gear. I want polar-grade thermal clothing, preferably capable of withstanding minus 80 degrees Celsius. Give me 50 men's sets and 50 women's sets. Are you planning an expedition to Antarctica? Pretty much. In addition, I need 200,000 heat packs and 30 diesel generators. The supplier's voice on the other end cracked slightly, but I ignored it and continued to list out the items I needed. After hanging up, I started brainstorming how to secure fuel. Buying large quantities of diesel through official channels was impossible, but I managed to find an oil trader who used to do business with my father. I managed to secure 2 massive tankers of diesel, though the price was jacked up twofold. As for anthracite coal and charcoal, I used my connections to directly find a mine owner at the source and placed an order for over 100 tons of high-quality anthracite coal and charcoal. The villa renovation by Old Chen was carried out simultaneously with my shopping spree. During the day, I ran back and forth between major wholesale markets, bargaining and placing orders with all kinds of owners, and arranging deliveries. At night, I would go to the suburban warehouse, waving my hand to store tons of supplies into my dimension. Watching the supplies inside the dimension gradually pile up into mountains and oceans, I finally began to feel a sense of security. Money spent can be made back, but once your life is gone, there's absolutely nothing left. In this life, I won't lack a single thing. On the 15th day, Old Chen finished the project 5 days ahead of schedule. Standing in front of the fully renovated old villa, I couldn't help but curse out loud, "Holy crap, this is beautiful." The 3-meter-high wall was topped with a dense high-voltage electric fence. The dark gray steel plates reflected a cold gleam under the sun. The windows were replaced with double-layered explosion-proof glass, and motorized titanium alloy rolling shutters were installed on the outside. The main entrance was a custom-armored explosion-proof door, as thick as a bank's gold vault. Stepping inside to check, the underfloor heating for the whole house was fully installed, and the walls had been reinforced with an extra 30 centimeters of thickness. The basement had been expanded to double its original size. One side housed the generator set and the battery bank, while the other side was a soil-free cultivation room. The carbide grow lights had already been turned on. Old Chen rubbed his hands, looking incredibly proud. "Miss Shin, please go ahead and inspect the work." "Master Chen, this 5 million was totally worth it." I cleared the remaining balance right on the spot, and even threw in a $50,000 red envelope bonus. Right after seeing Old Chen off, my phone suddenly rang. It was the real estate agent. "Miss Shin, the buyer of your house wants to take possession today, but the people inside are seemingly refusing to move out. They even called the cops, claiming we are trespassing." Hearing this, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. The good show has finally begun. Malbufan's entire family was still inside. When selling the house, I purposely signed the contract, stipulating that the buyer would move in after 1 week, precisely to take advantage of this time gap. The buyer was a nouveau riche guy with a pretty nasty temper. Arriving at the residential area, the scene was incredibly chaotic. Malbufan Liu Ruyan, along with Malbufan's absolute nightmare of a mother and father, were blocking the door, clashing with several heavily built men. "You guys are literally robbers. This is my daughter-in-law's house. What right do you have to kick us out?" Malbufan's mother was currently throwing a tantrum on the floor, rolling around while Liu Ruyan hid behind Malbufan's back, looking like a terrified little white rabbit. Could there be some kind of misunderstanding? My sister would never treat us like this. That nouveau riche guy was holding the property deed in his hand, his face completely red with rage. "This house was bought with my cold hard cash. The title transfer procedures are already all done." Right at this moment, I honked the car horn. The piercing horn drew everyone's attention. I rolled down the car window, flashing a bright smile. "Oh, is it getting this heated?" Malbufan looked at me like he was seeing his savior. He rushed over and clung to my car window. Shin, quickly explain it clearly to them. This bunch of thugs said you already sold the house. How is that even possible? This is our matrimonial home." I looked at his face, distorted with sheer anxiety, slowly reached into my bag, pulled out a copy of the sales contract, threw it straight at his face, and corrected him a bit. "This is not our matrimonial home. It's my house, and yes, it really has been sold. I've already spent all the money too. Mao Bufan froze. Are you out of your mind? If you sold the house, where are we supposed to live? We're literally getting married in just 1 week. Bufan roared in a furious rage, the greed and wrath in his eyes completely impossible to hide. Oh, I forgot to notify you about the marriage. The wedding is cancelled. I pointed my finger at Liu Ruyen. Since you love taking care of my sister so much, then just live with her from now on. Consider it my way of blessing you two lovebirds, you miserable couple. Then I turned around and said to the nouveau riche boss, according to the contract, everything inside this house is now at your disposal. Hearing this, the boss happily waved his hand and said, brothers, drag these lowlifes out of here for me. Watching Mao Bufan's entire family get dragged out of the apartment complex, and hearing Liu Ruyen's piercing screams and cries, my heart didn't experience a single ripple. I even wanted to drop by the convenience store next door to buy a grilled sausage. This is just the interest. The real karma hits with the Ice Age apocalypse in 7 days. For the next 3 days, I turned into a hard-working delivery person. Even though I had the storage dimension in my hand, I still had to place some supplies in the house to throw others off the scent. At the same time, during these final days, I wanted to set up the safe room to look like a real home. The basement was packed with smokeless coal and diesel. A total of 50 tons was neatly stacked. The kitchen fridge was fully loaded with beef, pork, and fresh vegetables. Even though the dimension had a preservation feature, I just loved the feeling of opening the fridge. Just seeing it packed with food felt incredibly satisfying. The living room was covered with a fleece carpet, and the fireplace was already loaded with firewood. Having done all of this, I collapsed onto the plush sofa and let out a long sigh. Right at that moment, my phone buzzed. I picked it up to look. It was a WeChat message from Mao Bufan Xin. I know I was wrong. That day I was just too emotional. I was just acting in the heat of the moment. Where are you right now? I want to apologize to you in person. I let out a cold sneer. It's only reached this point, and you already can't take it. I quickly typed back a reply. I'm currently traveling abroad, and the ocean view here is beautiful. If you guys don't have a place to stay, you can go claim a spot under a bridge. I heard the ventilation there is great. After sending that, I casually threw in a picture of the Maldives beach that I had previously saved online. The other side went dead silent for a long time. He was probably so pissed he wanted to smash his phone. 3 days passed. That morning, the sky took on a strange pale gray hue. The sun looked as if it were shrouded by a dirty cloth, unable to radiate even a single bit of warmth. Although the temperature hadn't started dropping yet, but a suffocating, unpleasant oppression already filled the air, making people feel deeply uneasy. I was adjusting the villa's security system to run one final check. Every corner of the yard was equipped with infrared sensors and high-definition cameras effective regardless of day or night. As long as any living creature approached within 60 meters of the fence, my phone and the indoor monitoring screens would automatically trigger an alert. By 12 p.m., the wind began to blow outside, not a cool breeze, but a violent wind sharp as a knife. Trees were whipped sideways, and pedestrians couldn't even hold their umbrellas steady. Following that, the temperature took a vertical nosedive, plunging from 35 degrees Celsius down to minus 10 degrees Celsius in just 6 hours. Online people started complaining, "What the hell is this weather? Why did it get so cold all of a sudden? I'm freezing to death. Gotta grab a puffer jacket real quick." I let out a soft sigh, stood up and went into the kitchen to whip up a lavish lunch, a medium-well tomahawk steak, seasoned with black pepper and sea salt, paired with butter-sautéed asparagus and a side of creamy mushroom soup. Flawless. Right as I set the plate down and sat, the phone rang. This time it was my stepmother calling. I hesitated for a moment before hitting answer. I actually wanted to hear what this good mother, who immediately flipped the script after my dad died, had to say now. "You've got some nerve, where are you right now?" My stepmother's piercing screech erupted from the other end of the line. "Mao Bufan said you sold the house and ran off with the cash. You ungrateful, heartless brat. Get your ass back here and cough up the money. Yuyen has nowhere to live right now, and her flu has gotten way worse." I pulled the phone a bit away from my ear. "You need to calm down first. Don't get so heated. You might trigger a brain hemorrhage." "Are you cursing me? Do you believe I'll call the cops on you?" "Go right ahead." I looked out. The window at the tree silhouettes violently whipping in the gale, murmured. "But I doubt the cops have the time to deal with you guys right now. You'd better look outside." True to my words, a loud clattering sound suddenly erupted outside, like countless stones being pelted against the glass. It was hail as big as fists. A wave of chaotic noise erupted from the other end, the sound of shattering glass and screaming, then the call cut off. I put my phone down, happily humming a little tune. The first wave of the natural disaster had arrived. By midnight, the originally pitch-black sky suddenly flashed with a strange blue light. It was the electrical arcing from a snapped high-voltage power line. Immediately afterward, district after district in the city plunged into darkness. Blackout. Yet my place was still completely bright. The generators in the basement were running smoothly. The soundproofing was top tier. In the second-floor bedroom, absolutely nothing could be heard. The underfloor heating continuously radiated warmth, and I even felt a bit too warm. Next, snowflakes began drifting onto the window panes. In just a few minutes, heavy goose-feather snow completely blocked out the view. The blizzard that had been brewing all day finally hit. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Mao Bufan wrapped himself in a flimsy hotel blanket, shivering violently as he stared at the shattered window. The freezing cold and snowflakes poured inside, and the room temperature had already dropped to the freezing point. Lu Royan was so cold her lips turned blue, weeping and complaining about the cold. "Stop crying already, it's annoying as hell." Mao Bufan tried to block the window with a bedsheet, but it was instantly blown away by the gale. What the hell is going on? Didn't the weather forecast say it was just a mild dip in temperature? Suddenly Mao Bufan recalled my seemingly random and sudden act of selling the house. A sinister look flashed across his eyes. She definitely knew something. I have to think hard about where she could be hiding. Meanwhile, over on my side, I was sleeping soundly in my bed, even snoring a little bit. At this point, the blizzard had already lasted for a week. The outdoor temperature stabilized at around -60 degrees Celsius. I walked barefoot across the floor, feeling the cozy warmth against the soles of my feet. The underfloor heating system throughout the entire house was quietly but firmly holding off the brutal freezing cold outside. Walking over to the window, a dim white light shone in from outside. The snowdrift had already buried half of the first floor. The entire world seemed to have nothing left but the color white. I picked up a pair of binoculars to look at the downtown area down the mountain. The once bustling CBD now looked exactly like a graveyard. Skyscrapers had turned into massive blocks of ice, and frozen cars lined every single street, like iron coffins. But what I was more interested in was the drama on my phone. The network wasn't completely down yet. The signal was just extremely spotty. The Happy Home Residents group chat that I had previously muted was popping off like crazy right now. Does anyone have any fever medicine left? I'm begging you guys, my child has a fever of 40 degrees Celsius. I'm willing to trade 2 packs of instant noodles for it. You want medicine for just 2 packs of instant noodles? Keep dreaming right now. A single fever pill costs at least 10 kilos of rice. I can't get through to the heating bureau at all. Where the hell did they all go in the middle of the night? I'm about to freeze to death. Messages in the group chat kept flooding in. People begging for medicine. People begging for food. It was an absolute mess. Suddenly, a familiar profile picture popped up. Sister, I know you're still in the group. We are truly at our wits' end. We came back from the hotel to stay with Mom, but we can't hold out here either. The maids have all fled and the fridge has been empty for a long time. So many of us are crammed into one place. Below that, someone replied, "Isn't your mom the wife of a new CEO? You live in a massive villa, yet you're short on food." Mao Bufan replied on her behalf. What good is a massive villa? There's no power, no heating. That little bit of hoarded food hit rock bottom after 5 mouths ate for just a few days. A wave of mockery erupted in the group. I stared at the screen and let out a long, satisfied sigh. They were staying in the house my father left behind. After my stepmother took it over, I had moved out. The villa might be huge, but so what? Without hoarding enough supplies, you can only sit around and wait for the end. After watching the drama, I hummed a tune and walked to the gym, starting my 1-hour daily physical training. In the apocalypse, health is the ultimate capital for survival. If I didn't maintain my physical strength, no matter how many supplies I had, the moment someone broke through my door, I would just be a lamb slaughtered for meat. Sweat dripped down my cheeks. This feeling of sweating profusely didn't just refresh my body. It made me feel a true sense of control. I was still alive. And what's more, I was living incredibly well. Unexpectedly, around dusk, someone in the group suddenly dropped a photo. It was a blurry, distant shot, taken from a high-rise building downtown, aimed at the mountainside. Look, everyone, quick! Has that villa halfway up the mountain been modified? The group chat instantly exploded. It really has. Plus, it looks like there's smoke rising from the back. Could there be a fireplace? Oh my God, isn't that the Wending Villa? I heard it's packed with trust fund babies. That's Shin Shin's house. I know for a fact that's Shin Shin's house. Mao Bufan sent 3 exclamation marks in a row. Even through the screen, I could feel his sheer excitement. Sister, are you inside? Oh, thank goodness. You must not know how much we are suffering. Bufan, let's go find my sister. Find her. Are you out of your mind? It's -56 degrees Celsius outside, and the snow is 2 meters deep. Cars can't even move. If you guys try to walk there, you'll freeze into ice statues halfway. The group went quiet for a moment because that nouveau riche guy was right. This was exactly why I chose this location. It looked like a glaringly obvious target, but in reality it was an isolated island. I let out a cold sneer. Come on then, I'll be right here waiting for you guys. In the blink of an eye, the blizzard had raged for a full month. The outdoor temperature had plummeted to minus 72 degrees Celsius. This was already the absolute limit of human survival. Most of the survivors no longer chatted in the group, either because their phones had died long ago or they had already frozen to death. But my life remained perfectly routine and borderline boring, waking up shoveling snow, cooking and watching movies every day before going to bed. Today, right as I was peacefully watching TV, Villa's alarm system suddenly went off. The piercing sound echoed through the empty villa. I bolted up instantly and walked over to the central control panel. The screen displayed several thermal imaging red dots appearing outside the perimeter wall. I adjusted the camera focus. The man leading the way was holding a hiking stick in his hand, gasping heavily for air with every single step. It was Mao Bufan. Walking behind him was Liu Ruyan, along with his parents. Unbelievable. The life force of this nightmare family was truly resilient. "Shinsin, open the door, I know you're inside." Mao Bufan's voice came through the high-fidelity audio receiver at the gate. I pressed the intercom button. "Who is it making such a racket? It's annoying as hell." Hearing my voice, Liu Ruyan rushed straight toward the massive iron gate. "Sister, it's me, Ruyan. We were kicked out by Mom and we're about to freeze to death. Please quickly open the door and let us in." "Oh my, isn't this my wonderful little sister?" I said in an exaggeratedly shocked tone. "Shinsin, it's all my fault." Mao Bufan's mother was now kneeling on the ground, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I shouldn't have been so harsh to you before. I'm bowing down to apologize to you. For the sake of Bufan being your fiancé, please save us." "Fiancé? Did you forget Auntie? I canceled that wedding ages ago." "Sister!" Liu Ruyan shrieked. "Can we talk about the past later? We're literally freezing to death. Your villa is so huge, what's wrong with adding a few more people? How can you be so heartless?" Hearing that, I scoffed in utter disdain. My voice broadcasted through the loudspeaker, blaring directly into the ears of the crowd packed outside the gate. My laughter completely triggered Mao Bufan. "Shinsin, if you're gonna be this ruthless, then don't blame me for being heartless." Mao Bufan pulled a fire axe from his coat and frantically hacked at the massive iron gate. "Dad, let's break the door down. Once we're inside and kill her, this house will be ours." Tisk, tisk, tisk. Look at human nature right here. One second they're begging on their knees, and the next second they're trying to commit murder and robbery. Watching this frantic scene on the security monitor, I shook my head in pity. This explosion-proof door cost millions to reinforce. How could it possibly be hacked open by a single axe? But since they were bursting with so much energy, I had to give them a little response right. I placed my hand on the electric fence switch and pressed it down. The father and son who were clinging to the gate frantically hacking away instantly looked like two electrocuted frogs. They twitched violently before crashing backwards stiff as boards. Because Liu Ruyan and Mao Bufan's mother were standing a bit further back, they managed to escape the shock. But they were still so terrified by the sight that they collapsed onto the ground, screaming like slaughtered pigs. "Murder, it's murder." Old Lady Mao shrieked. "Shut up before I change my mind!" "Scram down the mountain. Otherwise, this exact day next year will be your anniversary of death." Liu Ruyan and Old Lady Mao were vicious, but they were also deathly afraid to die. They stared in horror at the tightly shut massive black gate. Then the two of them completely abandoned, the other two lying on the ground scrambling to flee down the mountain. Watching their figures vanish into the blizzard, I turned off the security cameras, my heart completely unbothered. This was only the beginning. What I wanted wasn't just their lives, I wanted to utterly break their spirits. The peaceful days didn't last very long. One morning I was woken up by a faint buzzing sound. The sound was very light, but in the dead, silent snowscape it was exceptionally piercing. I quickly bolted out of bed, grabbed my military-grade infrared binoculars, and walked over to the bulletproof glass. I saw a drone up in the air, hovering right above my villa. In this extreme Arctic cold weather, to be able to use this kind of modified, low-temperature resistant drone, the opposition had to be organized and calculating. The drone circled twice over my perimeter wall, seemingly scouting my defense system, before flying back down toward the foot of the mountain. I watched the direction it vanished in, then drew the curtains shut. It looked like Liu Ruyan's group must have aligned themselves with some faction. In my past life, a gang called the Black Dragon Gang indeed emerged. They were originally a bunch of thugs and loan sharks. After the apocalypse, relying on the weapons in their hands and sheer brutality, they quickly took control of several large residential areas. I went down to the basement and opened the weapons locker that I had kept locked. Aside from the powerful alloy slingshots I bought earlier and the anti-wolf pepper sprays, I also pulled some heavier gear out of the dimension. Several crates of homemade Molotov cocktails, a modified high-pressure water gun, and a modified nail gun. Then I geared up in the thickest, tactical bulletproof vest. I quietly waited for nightfall. By 2 a.m., over 20 dense red dots appeared on the monitoring screen amidst the pitch-black snowfield. They were wearing a mismatched assortment of thermal clothes, holding iron bars and machetes in their hands. The ones leading the way were none other than Liu Ruyen and Old Lady Mao. They looked even more wretched than they did half a month ago. Mao Bufan had lost an ear. His cheeks were sunken and his eyes were bloodshot and completely crazed. He pointed toward my villa, bowing and scraping to a bald guy beside him, like a dog wagging its tail for scraps. "Boss man, this is the place my sister hoarded hundreds of tons of supplies. There's even a generator inside, making it as warm as spring. As long as we take this place, our brothers will never have to suffer from the cold again." The bald guy, Boss Man, spat on the ground. "Brothers, move in. Break the door down for me." They had clearly come prepared. Two lackeys carrying several packages of homemade explosives stealthily crept toward my main gate. I sat calmly in front of the control panel, raised my hand and pressed a yellow button. The hidden nozzles outside the villa walls suddenly activated, spraying out chili water mixed with a special adhesive. Before the two lackeys holding the explosives could even light the fuse, they were completely drenched. Their screams lasted for only 2 seconds, because the moment the water hit their bodies, it instantly froze into a solid sheet of ice. The two of them turned into ice statues. "Damn it, what the hell?" Boss Man was horrified. "It's an ambush charge." Bang bang, a few gunshots rang out. The bullets hit my bulletproof glass, leaving nothing but a few white scuff marks. The crowd outside didn't faze me at all. I picked up the intercom and turned on the loudspeaker. "Since you guys are already here, don't bother leaving. Just stay and become fertilizer." My voice echoed through the empty valley, carrying a chilling intent to kill. Boss Man was an experienced desperado after all. He roared, "Don't be scared. There's only one of her charge and climb over the wall. Just get into the house and we win." Following his order, over 10 people started setting up ladders, trying to scale the 5-meter-high wall lined with iron mesh. I watched their foolish actions and let out a sigh. "So you guys love electrotherapy, huh? Then let's upgrade you to the premium package." I cranked the power output button to the absolute maximum. Instantly, a blinding flash of blue light exploded. Before the thugs at the top could even scream, they dropped straight to the ground. Immediately after, the second guy and the third guy fell. "Fall back. Everyone fall back for me." Boss Man finally panicked. He realized this wasn't some fat piece of praise villa at all. This was a military fortress armed to the teeth. He turned around and kicked Liu Ruyen hard. "Liu Ruyen, you dare set me up." Liu Ruyen lay miserably on the ground, staring in horror at the smoking wall. Suddenly, he started shrieking toward the villa like a madman. "Sister!" I was wrong. I was forced by them. "Save me, sister. Just let me in, and I'll help you kill them." Even at a time like this, he could still spew such disgusting words. I carried the high-pressure water gun up to the roof. Then a stream of hot water erupted like a dragon, accurately blasting right onto the bald guy and Liu Ruyen. The scalding water scorched their skin first, and then within mere seconds, it rapidly froze into a solid, inescapable casing of ice, sealing the horrific pain inside their bodies. Piercing screams echoed through the night sky. Liu Ruyen's legs were frozen together. He desperately tried to beat the ice with his hands, only for his hands to get tightly stuck to the ice layer as well. Things weren't any better on Boss Man's side. Half of his body was frozen, rendering him completely unable to move. I put down the water gun and whistled. The battle lasted for only 20 minutes. Out of over 20 people, half were dead. Most of the remaining half were heavily injured, or frozen solid right on the spot. Those who weren't injured saw that things were going south, and abandoned their leader to flee for their lives. Only a few ice statues that were still breathing remained on the snow. Dawn was about to break, and the blizzard gradually weakened. Liu Ruyen wasn't entirely dead yet. His life force was truly as resilient as a cockroach. "Save me, sister." He lay prostrate on the ground, his voice as weak as a mosquito's buzz. I took a sip of hot tea, feigning a sigh and shaking my head. How wonderful their whole family can stay in front of my gate forever, making them act as dogs. To guard my door is truly a blessing for them. The assault on my villa became a local legend in this area. The survivors who managed to escape said that a man-eating female demon lived here. No one dared to easily step onto this mountainside anymore. During that 1 year, the world order completely collapsed, and new barbaric rules began to take shape. I heard that several large survival zones, controlled by the military, had been established downtown. As for me up on the mountain, I was still living like a god. The radio inside the house occasionally picked up a few intermittent broadcasts, urging survivors to gather at the bases. The supplies inside my dimension hadn't even been 1/10 consumed. That massive pile of supplies was enough for me to live comfortably for 10 years. I looked up and stared out the window at the endless, pristine white wasteland. The weak sunlight pierced through the snow curtain, casting a dim glow onto the snowy surface, reflecting light like diamonds. Even in the apocalypse, the world still held its own cruel beauty. In my past life, I was the desperate wife weeping in the snow. In this life, I saved myself. I raised my glass of milk, gently clinking it against the rising sun. Good morning, New World. Thank you.